from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Pretty well. Welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are here. We are the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the great state of New York. We, the forever students, will not be silenced. We will not be quelled. We will not go quietly into the night. This broadcast is essentially paramount to showing all of those controllers out there that we are not here for you. We are here for us and our community. Welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. Tonight is going to be a fun night. We're going to start doing Friday night conversations because I think it's a little bit more apparent for us to talk about things as opposed to just doing presentations. And I want to do a little bit of interactivity with everybody in the chat as well and take time to answer any questions about what we've talked about over the last few weeks. And I love you too, Omar. Thank you. The sweater is bright red because this is an emergency broadcast. Now, we are reaching critical mass. Critical mass. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. What is critical mass? We're going to get into it. But before we do, we got some bills to pay. So hello, everybody. Welcome. And if you haven't picked up a ticket for the Energetics Workshop, in the description of this video, we have the link with the promo code Forever Student, all one word. Okay, all one word. And that's going to give you 10% off ticket sales. The tickets are $25 a piece. 10% is $250 off each and every ticket. Those who are members of the channel will get 20% off. That promo code was posted in the community tab for all those people. The tickets are going fast. There are only 250 slots because that's what they'll allow us in StreamYard in the webinar function. So get your tickets as soon as you can if that's something you're interested in because they're going. I didn't expect them to really, I didn't expect it to be as rapid sales as it was. So thank you for all the people who are supporting. And I want to be a big shout out to Selena. Selena has purchased and paid it forward for a ticket of somebody who maybe at this time doesn't have the funds to go to this specific event. She has paid it forward for one person. We are also, when we get down into some of the episodes before we go into it, we're going to be doing some giveaways of tickets as well, but there'll only be a couple of giveaways with there being space allotted, right? I have to be cognizant of that. We're going to do those giveaways if there are some tickets left over. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. So also we have in the chat, we have links to our PayPal here so you can support the broadcaster, become a member. I mean, there's lots of perks to becoming a member. The website's just about done. We're going to have some merchandise up there. You also get merchandise perks while becoming a member as well. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So please also share this content, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get the word out about what we're talking about here, because when we talk about critical mass, and this is going to be the opening paradigm tonight after we say hi to everybody, when we talk about critical mass, this is the new paradigm that we're seeing here. This is what we're looking at on a daily basis. But before we get into that, I want to say hello to Omar, my brother, Andromedan, Scott, Jay Zen, Greg Herrera, Gray Noise, Nancy. I see Monica's here. We've got quite a few people. We've got Eliza here. We've got Grammy Day here. That's a wonderful name. I've never heard that name before, but that's awesome. We've got Lean here as well. So, or it could be Lynn, and I'm just saying it wrong, but whatever it might be. So, critical mass, right? We are here at this inflection point. There was nothing that basically is coincidence in this reality. And right now, we're in one reality matrix that is dissolving with two budding reality matrices right behind it. I see Starseed is here. I am Starseed. Susan is here, right? So that's right. Two or more gathered for mass. That's it. But and Omar, if you want to come into the studio as well, you're more than welcome to come in. But what we're talking about is these two budding realities, right? There's two budding realities behind the dissolving reality. And this is critical mass. And critical mass also speaks about the awakening that is happening worldwide around the globe because of the controllers and their vindictiveness. We've talked about a lot of things like the train derailment in old Palestine in Ohio. Well, they were telling everybody that everything was safe, everything was good, it was all gravy, really cool, right? So a lot of independent companies decided they were going to send their own people to investigate the soil, the water, and it just so happens that they were taking off from Clinton Airport, which is in Arkansas, right? Which is not a coincidence because there's no such thing. And essentially, that plane crashed and killed all five of those environmentalists. And if they got to where they were going, the gig would be up, right? The jig would be up in that sense that when they got there and tested the soil, all of the things that you're hearing on mainstream media would not be propagated the way that they wanted it. So this leads me to believe that there's some sort of conspiracy behind that. But again, it could have been an accident. I'm not saying definitely, but it definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And there's a lot of suspicion around that. So this is the dissolving of this reality matrix. And this is another reason why we're doing this in the workshop is because it is so important to solidify in the reality or in the reality matrix that you want, right? We're not going to reside within the phantom matrix because that's kind of where we're at now. So what we're talking about is this one timeline we can say, or this bifurcation that we went through in December, where the higher energetical people are going to go one way and the lower energetical people are going another way. But it's when we get into that, we can break down into these two budding reality matrices coming in place of this dissolving matrix, which is that bifurcation that we talk about. So Stephen and Evan Strong were right on the money when they said it. And I wholeheartedly believe all of their content is they are incredible researchers and they have such insight into this and they've basically called it out. But critical mass is the awakening of it, right? The awakening of their deceptions, the awakening of figuring out it's not exactly what they say, right? It's not exactly what it seems to be, and this is the controller's narratives. We know that they have institutions that are basically contradictory to reality or an inversion of reality, and they spew this information. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight was to inject some positivity into this situation because when we look outside and we watch things, and even if we're just looking at a day-to-day basis in our own specific reality, we see so much chaos and so much going on. It's hard sometimes to see the silver linings that are happening right in front of our faces because of this bombastic bombardment of negativity and this clown world that's coming out more and more and more and more, right? And it's wild because a lot of these activists that are out there are basically putting their own experienced reality out there for everybody else to accept. But when somebody from the consciousness community or the contact community comes out with their shared reality, it's frowned upon. And that's directly indicative of this overlay of control, right? Because if we get if we get past those controllers' gates, shall we say, and we get through that gate, there's no coming back from those points, which we've already done. They just don't see it. So the awakening that's happening on this planet is coming from these events. And they think that by creating these events and essentially capitulating humanity and then doubling down, that they are gaining more control when actually it's completely contradictory to what we're seeing. And this is what I mean by these two budding realities, right? These two budding realities are coming in place of this dissolving reality. And reality is dissolving all around us. We see it, the inversion of logic. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. It's all out there for people to see plain as day. So this is also part of this movement is we're out here sharing this information. And even though we're doing that, it feels like it's going unnoticed or it feels like it's going to the by the wayside when we come out with this with what we know. But really it's not. It's not. And I have to that's part of the silver lining too. A lot of it looks like a lot of our efforts are not as fruitful as they are, but they are because we're creating this community that's going to basically dictate to reality what that reality matrix is going to look like. While this reality matrix is dissolving all around us, and the two budding reality matrices are coming into the forefront, the one with the higher resonance is always going to stand taller than the rest, right? And by this bifurcation is where we're going to see this great split really come into pass. And the fact of the matter is, when Stephen and Evan say that this river is flowing fast, it's at a pace that's almost blinding. There's so many things that we can talk about that are going to set apart one reality from the next, right? And I'm going to give you some examples too. And by going into this, we're projecting our energetic light or our divine light into this reality matrix that's dissolving and into the higher resonating reality matrix so that we can show the world that we are here, we're not going anywhere, and we will be the pioneers of this new future. And that's what we're going to be talking about, right? And you're absolutely right, Greg. The age of the guru is over. There are no gurus anymore. We are all out there in this great lake, right? And there's no current, so it's up to us to swim in a direction. And that's where that's essentially where we are the ones that we've been waiting for comes from. And if not us, then who? And it's our time. It is our time as a community, as a consciousness movement. It is our time. There is nobody greater than this community. There's nobody beneath this community either. It goes as a resounding, we are not better than anybody, but we are also not the same as anybody. And that's one of the things that, you know, I truly I resonate with that personally. And I'm getting, this is why I want to do Friday night chats too, because I don't really talk about my views too much. I try and stick to the curriculum that I've kind of put together, right? And that's also what the energetics workshop is going to be, a little bit more of my understanding while taking the research understanding and blending them and showing how we can really unify ourselves to the planet and unify to each other and clear every aspect of our energetical awakenedness, because really it's an awareness and becoming awake is becoming aware. So, if that's something that you'd like to. And also, another thing I forgot to mention about the workshop is we're going to have charts, and we're going to have a PDF file that's going to be pages long that you're going to be able to download before the actual content, so we can go over some of it together so you understand it. It'll have corresponding links. It'll have research documentation from books. I'm telling you, this is probably about 160 hours of manpower or research that has gone into each and every episode that we're going to do, right? We're going to try and do 1 to 2 a month. And we're going to really work on it until I think there's about 7 or 8 that I really have to get out. And after that, we can kind of go into other things. But there's 7 or 8. And one of the reasons why we started with the quantum energy and the quantum field, but also the reality matrix cleansing, is because those two correspond with each other. And I'm not going to go into it too much now, but this is what we're seeing. This is the dissolving of this reality matrix. And to cement ourselves into that higher frequency matrix will change our lives forever. But to also come to the understanding that this reality matrix is dissolving and we're moving into this fifth fifth dimensional new earth, as they call it. It has so many different names, but truly it's up to you to decide what it is and what it's called, because it is your reality. We're here together right now, and we're vibrating together, right? We're talking and we're vibrating, and that's something. And that's part of the emotional structure and the energetic structure of the way this world works and how we correspond to the planet. So, back to the getting off a rant, back to the task at hand. Critical mass. Critical mass is the awakening happening, right? And this awakening is going to affect legacy, right? And when I say legacy, I mean our children, our children's children, our children's children's children. I'm going to give you a couple stories tonight too, because they strike me as being sort of a warning shot or a warning to people out there on how social media kind of corrupts who we are and our self-image and our self-worth a little bit, right? I have some family, and my family I haven't seen in, I don't know, probably a few months prior to seeing them the other night. And they know that I have a show and that we do our thing, and they asked me how that was going, and I said it's going really great. We've got a real solid community. I really love doing it. It's a, passion project of mine. And they this person has a mother figure, or a mother, that is very, very old and getting to the end of this life cycle, right? So this encounter was essentially me seeing them for the first time since some things had happened during this period. And I asked them how is this person, being my aunt, their mother, and I said, "How is our aunt?" And all of that, and how is everything going? And they were adamant about saying yes, but the whole conversation was corroborating whether I followed them on Instagram. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, there's a lot going on right now within the family, and you're so worried about Instagram. And I had to wrap my head around, what is happening here, right? What of all the realities to live in, Instagram being this something that they're like revolving around. And it's her and her sister going out and having fun, and I get it. They are 61 years old, so, they're in the golden years of their life, so they essentially are living it up, which I get. Man, you worked hard. Do your thing. Do your thing. It's cool. But there was a situation, right, that more so needed our attention in thoughts and prayers than, "Hey, are you following me on Instagram?" But that was the most important thing to that person in that moment. And this is the slumberings type of revelations around some sort of social media gratification. And it struck me as just insane. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. But I love this person dearly, and I'm not talking ill about them. It boggled my mind. Then for the next thought after that was, what can I say to this person to trigger some sort of response that will bring them into this awakening? That will essentially, Omar, you can come on in, brother. Come on in and join the conversation. I know you were back there. Come on in. And, what can I do to engage this person, even though they're my family and they know what we talk about? I'm not sure if they follow what we talk about, but how can I engage with them? And this is this budding of realities, right? So my reality is living in the moment, in the now, understanding the energetics of everything and anything around us. How can I help? How can I be of service? And this person was sort of like, well, we know that there's things going on, but what are you doing for me in this moment? Which shows the two different reality structures sort of butting into each other. And the social medias are essentially a instant gratification model that people are getting so wrapped up in that it becomes their whole life. And the second story I wanted to tell you before we go any further is, I was watching clips of shows, and they went around the room. It was a lot of women, right? And a couple of men. Would you rather have a long-standing loving relationship or be famous on Instagram? Every one of those people chose Instagram over a loving relationship. I was like befuddled. I was like, to receive that magical connection between you and your twin flame. And this is where sort of myself and Omar come in. Some of these people haven't been exposed to some of the things that we talk about, in the way that the energies kind of coexist with each other, and they intertwine with each other. They see things in a very superficial, like, sort of reality, right? But they haven't really gone deeper into themselves to see what their wants and needs are, which is that exploration of who we are, right? I see Omar's laughing. What's going on, Omar? Tap in, brother. You're muted right now.
I'm just laughing, bro, because everybody's on the blue pill. Thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate it. I
Always,
just
brother.
wanted
You're
to come
always
on
welcome.
and just give a quick download on something that people may not know. But I'm flowing with the conversation. I saw that it was an open room, so I jumped in. I'm on my 2 days off. Woohoo!
Beautiful. A little bit of
Yeah, so
relaxation, baby.
drinking some beers and hanging out with my beautiful girl. My
Amy.
soon-to-be wife. There she is.
I love you guys together. I love you guys together so much. You guys remind me of me and my wife, and I think that when we finally get to hash it out in person, it's going to be such a great fucking time, man. Such a great
uh,
time.
this is going to be a great, great time, and I'm looking forward to it. And it could happen this summer here, bro, because
Damn right.
yeah, it could happen because I think I'm going to make my way across Canada and work my way to Ontario, and then maybe
Oh
jump into New
boy.
York and come see you. So it's going to be planning on that for our honeymoon. Kind of just rolling it in my head, and I think my soon-to-be wife just found out just now live.
Oh, you're spilling the beans, baby. No, but what do you think? What do you think about how sort of like this critical mass is happening, right? And we see these different realities sort of playing out at the same time, while this one around us is dissolving, and all of this exposure and veils are being lifted. There's these two. Do you agree that there's these two separate realities kind of butting up underneath this one, trying to bubble for
Yes.
supremacy?
Yes, absolutely, Rob. And I think that the one thing that we all need to be aware of is that the system that we're working on right now is the system that was worked up in the very late, late hours of the conclusion of World War II, where America was the supremacy. America said what happens, America said the rules, and that's how it was, and that's how it's been up until now. But now, now things have changed. Yesterday, in fact, things changed, and the day before yesterday, things changed. There's two major things that have happened in order to bring us to this critical mass. That's why I was so excited to just jump onto the stream to give you this very quick download on what's going on, because I resonated with that critical mass. So what's happening right now, Rob, is that Russia and China have joined forces against America. And because we've been working on the program of, the end of World War II, on that America is the superpower and America says what happens and that's how it goes and that's it, right? Up until yesterday, China, the biggest army in the world, teamed up with Russia, the biggest nuclear power on the earth. Now, those two are vying for the position of superpower against America on the world stage. So that is an absolute critical mass. Not only that, but a couple of days ago, just Castro here in Canada offered a medical bill.
Oh, I
As you
saw
know
that.
that
Oh my god.
yeah, as you know that our medical system is socialist, right? Is communist, and there's no private care unless you come here to the beautiful province of British Columbia, where you will get private care because our government is down with that. And if you don't want to wait in the public, then you can always have an option to go to private health care, which the rest of Canada doesn't have. I think there's only one province, which I don't recall which one it is across Canada, but BC is one of them, and there's another one. But anyways, Justin Trudeau just offered like hundreds of millions of dollars to like each province, but one of the stipulations of that is, guess what it is the ID. It's the
Oh.
ID. It's the ID. So all your medical information, all of your digital ID, all of your carbon footprint, all of your things are reported to the federal government as part of the healthcare. Now, everyone in Canada has what's that called? Like in Alberta, it's called a Alberta healthcare card. In BC, is called the British Columbia healthcare card, and then you get given this digital number which is connected to your ID and such, and all of your information is on there. But now check this out. there are things that are going on that are extremely sick, and this is a critical mass of all the things, is that this bill is being passed here in Canada, and 7 provinces have already taken upon this. But in the United States, what's going on is that there's a code that's called an ICD code, and that ICD code is that code is connected to your insurance. And if you go and see a doctor that takes insurance, then they're going to take all of your medical information, give it to the federal government, and then after that, the federal government's not going to have anything to do with that, with any restrictions and such. As you saw, that we had all of these, the passports and kind of things like that,
Hmm.
right? So what's
Right.
coming is that once these reports get filled out, once you go see your doctor, is that this report gets sent into a database, and private companies are allowed access to this private information, your medical information. They have access to this, and then they can do what they need to do. I don't want to go any further, just
Right.
out of respect to the restrictions on this channel, but you can see where that's going. But here in Canada, what's happening is that this healthcare plan, this $500 million that Alberta just got, right now, check this out. Now, Alberta is run by this premier called Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith pretends to be on the side of the people, but she just sold the people out yesterday by signing a deal with Just Castro and giving up this information, this medical information that's connected to your digital ID. And now the federal government's going to know who has what and who has nothing. If you got AIDS, the government knows. If you don't got AIDS, the government doesn't know. Well, they know that you don't got no AIDS or hepatitis, things like that, right? Then you can, use your imagination where I'm going with this. But they'll be in
Right. Right.
absolute
Right.
control. They'll know full knowledge of what's going on, and then they'll share that information with private companies, and then those private companies will dictate whether you're allowed to go on the bus, whether you're allowed to do this and this and this and this and that.
That's
But
wild,
that's
bro.
kind of that's
Controlled
the
movement.
level
That's
that
that's
Canada
come up
is
to the
on.
line. Stop on the line. That's what that is. You need to walk until you stop at that line. And then when we
Yes,
tell you you can go, is when you can go. It's complete capitulation and control. That's
yes.
insane.
This is absolute insane, because now private companies have access to our medical information and our private medical information, and that's just something that should not be. Because let's say if I've got lung cancer, I don't want the world to know that I have lung cancer. Let's say if you have anus cancer.
That could stop you potentially from
You
getting a
don't want the
specific job. Like that could really hurt your future outcomes of anything. And not only that,
yes.
that sick bastard up in Canada, not to be crazy, signed a bill that literally, if you have some sort of mental illness to obesity, that you can
Oh,
that was part of that bill that you can
that was
die.
here in
Yeah,
BC today. No,
yeah,
no, that was
they'll let the medical facility kill you or
yes, yes,
assisted
yes.
suicide.
Oh, thanks
So
for reminding me,
crazy,
Rob.
bro. So
Here's
dark and twisted. I can't even like that is beyond the pale. This is the inversion of
you want
what
to hear more dark?
human nature is. Yeah, keep going.
Check this out, bro. You want to hear more dark? Here's
Yeah.
another bill that was passed here in my province, here in British Columbia, designated by the illegal doctrine of discovery. They passed a bill here today that anyone who is a drug addict, nurses and paramedics have the absolute right under the new amendment of the Medical Health Act that they can grab anyone off the street that they deem necessary that needs medical help, and they can submit them to the hospital for 48 hours. And then after 48 hours, if a doctor comes in and says that you need medical attention, then you are in their system and you're not going anywhere, and you're going to get the treatment that they want you to have. Now, this is a slippery slope, because if they do this with the drug addicts today, then tomorrow it'll be the alcoholics. Then after that, it'll be the smokers. Then after
Mhm.
that, it'll be obesity. And then so on and so on and so on, where they can just seize you on the street. Literally, Rob. They can pull up a paramedic and pull up on an ambulance on the side of the road in Vancouver on Hastings Street. It is the poorest postal code in Canada, in one of the richest cities in Canada, you can go from, like, literally, there's a line. You can be on this side of the line, and it's drug addicts and crackheads and meth heads, and you can go on this side of the line, and there are millionaires with like
Yeah, it's
$10 million
the movie industry is up
apartments.
there. The movie
They can
industry
pull
is
up
all
to
over
you.
Vancouver.
Yeah, they can pull up to you, they can grab you, and they can just like literally submit you for medical treatment, even if you don't want it.
That's wild.
That is a
Follow
slippery
this
slope.
line. You ready? What you just said about the medical treatment, that they can grab you off the street. Now, if they claim that addiction is a mental illness, then they
Hmm.
could bring in a psychiatrist to tell you that you shouldn't be here anymore because you're suffering and assist you in a suicide to clean you
That's
right
right.
off the street. This is a
Yes,
propagation of human capitulation to clean up the undesirables or the people who don't have like the control over their own faculties, which is beyond the pale. That is darkness for darkness's sake. Like that is
yes.
evil for evil's sake. And this is these sick bastards that are out there. I can't. The fact that we just put that all together in 5 minutes is beyond me because I knew you
It's
were going to come in
sickening,
and say
isn't it?
something about it. And I felt it. I said, get your ass up here and start talking because we got more to go into. But this is a good thing in one way. And I'm not saying it's good for them that are killing people. What I'm saying is that the rest of the world is seeing what is happening in Canada and saying that we will not take part in that. We are not going to be those people. This is one of
Hmm.
those critical mass points that is waking people up at a exponential rate. Now, God forgive me because it's not good. It's not good in any way. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that it was a
This is
good
not
thing.
good.
It's not good, but it is an inflection point. And we're seeing those around the world, just like you said with China and Russia and all that crazy. And here's the thing that really what it comes down to, right? We're all human, and human nature is to protect yours or your land or your home where you rest your head.
I
Animals
have
do
to
it.
argue with that.
What?
I can argue with that, Rob. In this day and age that we live in, there are very minimal amount of humans that live on this planet,
Well, that's what I was getting
because
to. That's where I was
everyone
headed with that.
identifies
I s-
everyone on this planet identifies with their programming. Everyone identifies with the fact that they are part of an evolution of a monkey, that they only use 10% of their brain, that 90% of their DNA is junk. So that means that 90% of you is junk. And
no
when
way.
people out there are identifying with such nonsense, then I have to argue with the fact that we have very minimal amount of human beings living on this earth because everyone's identifying as a monkey. Me, I feel like that I'm a human being that's a subspecies of my own, and that I haven't evolved from anything else but a human being, just like a Neanderthal, that I didn't come from a monkey, that I'm an independent species of this planet, and I use 100% of my brain and 100% of my DNA is active, and that I identify as a human being. I've spoken about the citizenship and things like that. A monkey needs permission to go and do things. A human being doesn't need permission to do things. So, there are a very minimal amount of human beings. And I tell you, my beautiful beauties out there, self projections, is that don't identify with the Darwin thinking of that you are a monkey. You are definitely not a monkey. You are a human being that is an independent species of your own, that you have the will choice to make your own choice of what you are. And if you fall into the program of thinking that you're a monkey and that you evolved from a monkey, then you're going to behave like a monkey, just like that we are seeing in the liberal world right now across the world with this identity politics and all this BS that we're seeing. That is the behavior of a monkey. That is not a human being, because a human being would simply look at that and say, I'm sorry. There are only two genders, and that's it.
That's crazy. What I was going for is the inherent, like what I said. What I was saying is that you're looking at Russia and China coming together, and those types of things, and there is for me, there's an inherent nature to protect oneself and home, regardless of what you identify as. But that paradigm is sort of breaking, right? Like that's not happening anymore. And that's where I was going with it. Where you were saying is that things are starting to rattle at their foundation, right? Like, and really changing what we think and how to keep it positive in this sense of all of that chaos, right? Because they want you to question everything, but they don't
Yeah.
want you to question it in a way that leads to different thinking. They want you to question it so you can come back to the group think that they want you to be a part of. And that's really
Hmm.
what happens after all that, right? And
That's right.
it's a program. It's all programming. And that's what that defending oneself and home is. The entire universe is our home. Like we reside everywhere. We're made from everything out there in the universe, and everything out there in the universe is made from us. It's all relative, it's connection. And that's where I was going with that. But you're absolutely right. It's like this, I can't like those people because they're our adversary. That's not true. That's not true. Who told you that? And why do you think that? Right? Like the right and the left. We could talk about politics and keep it within the borders of North America, right? I can't like that person because they are of such ideology. Well,
Hmm.
they're looking at you the same way. This is a
That's right.
program. And this is just like Trudeau saying, you know what? We'll help you kill yourself if you want to. Like,
That's
that's a
pretty sick, isn't
program.
it, Rob?
It's
That is
insane. It's this
that is
inversion of
really sick.
reality.
That's right. And this goes to show you that we're coming right back to 1984, to where, George Orwell, he predicted that this would happen. And you know what? This has already happened. It happened in Nazi Germany, and it's happening today. We have our veterans. I'm not a big supporter of veterans. You already know that. I'm not a big supporter of any type of war machine. But when you have a veteran that's like hard done by, and goes to the government and says, "Hey, look, man, I went and fought for you, and I fought for your ideology, I fought for your politics, I fought for your money. Now my leg's blown off. I need like little help on this." And then they say to you, "Hey, man, the best option is for you to just go and kill yourself." That really makes you question with the fact that, do we really need government? Okay, do we really need a national government, a federal government? Can we simply create a government that's regional? That goes from region to region, kind of like the warlords that we see in like Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, and back in the day, we saw the warlords that actually ruled regions. Now, what if we took that warlord mentality and turned it into something positive with love mindset to it, and said, okay, well, instead of conquering and killing and butchering everyone, we just go around, we trade things, kind of like Ubuntu that Michael Tallinger's been working on one small town for like the last 10 years. That's a beautiful philosophy, and I think that may work, and that may bypass this federal government. But the big problem is that how do we make connections around the world? But with the technology that we have today, that could be very easy to do. But when you have governments that are telling you to go and kill yourself, we really need to step back, and we really need to think to ourselves, do we really need governments? Do we really need some guy that's like, thinking that he's better than you, that you're inferior to him, and that he can make better decisions for you, than you can, and that he can involve you into something that you don't want to be in, and that he's not really representing you? Like, it really makes you wonder,
I get
do we
that.
really need government?
I here.
If I have, let me just say this, Rob.
Go ahead. Go
Let's
ahead.
say if I'm involved in like a regional government, right? I live in a valley, and my valley has, like maybe 100,000 people in it, and the next valley has like maybe 200,000 people in it. Now, what if 100,000 of us got together and says, okay, well, we're gonna elect an elder who is going to represent us and look out for our best interests? I know that's what the government is supposed to do, but
Right,
it's
right.
not the way it is right now. Because right now, if you're a business owner and if you have money in the stake, then you're allowed to become a politician. But if you're just a regular average Joe on the street, then you can't get into government because you're not going to get the funding, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that. But what if we get one of our elders to represent us? Then it becomes a little bit different because that elder doesn't really have anything on the line. He's just an elder. He wants to see his community benefit and move ahead. It doesn't have money on the line. In fact, if you're a business owner, you shouldn't be even allowed to get into politics because, that's a conflict of interest. So
Yep,
then
that's
again,
very true.
it makes you wonder as to, like, do we really need government? Like,
I want to say that I agree with a lot of what you're saying too, but I do believe that we do need some sort of faculty or some sort of, I guess, hierarchy in the sense of
like law and order type of
no,
thing.
sort of. But I think what you're saying is absolutely valid and true, right? Like there needs to be some sort of reconstituting of how we look at what it is and how we
Hmm.
do it, right? I think that there definitely needs to be some sort of time limit, and it has to be a short time because the people who stand to benefit, like you said, are those who have interests or being paid by lobbyists and speaking engagements, all
Yeah,
that stuff. That is that is the problem, is the money.
like shit, man. 40 years in
The
government
money.
and you got nothing done.
Well,
40 years.
that's
40
bureaucratic government.
years.
And I think that a council would be more of a better kind of like at the
Yes.
top of the pyramid as opposed to
Yes.
one solid person. But see, we're supposed to have that council, but it's not the same type of council. What
Yeah.
I'm
Right
talking
now it's
about is like,
money that
right,
dictates it.
we need limit of term. We need to vacate all monies, right? If you work for the government, you should be put up in housing until you leave government office, and then you are paid your full sum at the end of that term. Done. You're not making a
Mm.
dollar. Everything is provided for you from the state until you're finished. Then you get paid, right?
Then you get your pension and
And
then
it's
you
like a
move on and
bubble,
then
and
that's
you're
it. Yeah, I like that.
but at the same time, you have to watch that too because when they start to get into those bubbles, they're not listening to the people anymore. And this contradictory. Like it has to be
Yeah,
more.
that's where the
I
money
don't want
comes
to
in,
say
Rob.
oversight, but I do want to say oversight because oversight is not the way, right? It has to be beholden to the people. And that's the ultimate oversight is to the people. So every politician, they do a 4-year term, right?
That's
Every
it. No more
year,
than 4 years.
right? Every
No
year,
more than 4 years,
a
bro. Just
council
4 years and
convenes,
then that's it. And
right?
then you're never allowed to run for politics ever again.
Well,
Four years.
Here's the thing. They can move to a different job, right? But here's what we do. Every year, a council of the people convenes, and you're held in the court of public opinion, and it has to be
Hmm.
televised or put out in a stage for the whole whoever resides within that area
Everybody to see.
to see.
Yeah.
And then from that point,
And to
the
vote
decision.
upon.
Yes, we're not going to get to the voting of it because YouTube, but yes, it should be done. It should be done right there
You're
immediately.
smooth, my brother.
Thank you. But so this council comes in and they're picked by the people to evaluate the job of that politician. And that politician is beholden to that council. If that council recommends that that politician has to resign, he has already signed a contract saying that he will resign and he will be replaced by somebody else. And then they'll
Well, you see,
do
there's the thing.
what?
There's the thing, Rob, is that there shouldn't be a politician. There
Well,
should
maybe
be a
not the
representative of
person,
the
the person.
community that's on a rotation of like 4 years.
Right.
After 4 years, they can never hold that position again. So that they can never become a lobbyist, they can never become any of that. And that is the only way I think that we can move beyond this federal government is that if we have like regional representation of from elders. It can't be a young guy like you and I,
I'm
40, 50 years old, just going in there. It can't be that because we lack an
right.
experience. It has to be somebody that's like 70, 80 years old that has that life experience and has gone through the
Well, I don't want to
depression,
say
the
that
hard
either.
times, and
I don't
inflation
want to
and
say that
things like
either
that,
because
right?
sometimes Yeah, but sometimes those young people invigorate a people as well. Like, maybe not
Yeah.
20s or
Well, the young
30s,
people can talk
40
to the
plus,
elder
I
and
would
give
say.
the elder their, opinions and
Of
say,
course.
hey, elder, like this is how we think times are turning, and perhaps you should, consider looking at it from this direction. But if the elder is a progressive, thinker, then the elder will roll with the younger generation and say, hey, you're right. You guys are coming up next, and perhaps we should begin to facilitate your guys' needs more so than our needs because we're taken care of. And then the next elder comes in, and next, and the next, and the next. And perhaps that's the only way that, democracy, can survive, because the way democracy is working right now, there's no way democracy can survive right now, because there's just too much,
Well,
there's just
they've
too much on the go and too much on the line for,
it's not, you
you
have to
know,
simplify it.
yes,
There's too many caveats to rules. And
way too many.
there's certain people who hire others to find those caveats in a way that is beholden to that person becoming wealthier, more powerful. And this is the problem. It's not a position of power, right? It's not something that you should live off of for the rest of your life. You should do your time and then go back to work like everybody else does, and creating and
Yeah,
use that. And this is the problem: is the people that are thrusted into these positions. And here I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this too. It's not. It's preordained. These people who move into these positions have already sold themselves twice
oh
over,
yeah,
three times
absolutely.
over, because of
I
this
talked to
power elite structure where they scoop them up out of grade school and groom them into this insane sort of, for the people politician that essentially turns his back on one tough decision, and then it's all downhill. And this is how they
yeah, yeah,
do it.
yeah.
This is like both sides are controlled, right? And I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, right? But all those people who are beholden to the WEF, all those people who are beholden to the far right side of things, they're the same. They're groomed by the same people to be adversarial. It is a program.
Klaus
It's a
Schwab, baby.
program.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what's going on. And, it's, I feel, Rob, is that anyone that has any type of money stake involved in politics should not be able to run for politics. But not only that, but there needs to be an oversight, because you get these politicians that come into so-called public service, right, as poor mofos. They're making no more than $30,000-$40,000 a year. A couple of years later, they got like $1 million in their bank, and there needs to be an oversight as to, like, how did they get that money? If you're a public servant, you know, what's that called? Salary,
Right.
is like $60,000 a year, $50,000 a year, then you should have no more than that in your bank. And unless you made investments, but if you made those investments, then they should be scrutinized, because then how did you make all that money? Are you using the public system to benefit yourself? And if you have, then after that, there should be criminal charges. Your money should be seized. Your assets should be seized. There should be like laws like that, so that politicians, they don't come in like Castro here. He's a fucking school teacher. He's not even really a real school teacher. He's an English second language school teacher, but yet he has millions and millions and millions of dollars. How is that even possible? Like literally, how
He
is
came in for the people too. Like, he was decent in the
yeah,
beginning. He
yeah, but
really was. But
well, he
then
tricked us all. He
but
tricked us all. But the
exactly.
question really remains, is that how did he get his millions and millions of dollars when
We'll
he
never
was
find out.
only a English second language teacher, and that nobody wanted to hire him, across the country. Nobody wanted to hire him. He had to go to Korea to get a job. He had to go to Japan to get a job. He had to go to
But
China.
they made him the prime minister. This guy who
Yes,
can't get a job anywhere becomes the prime
exactly.
minister.
Yes, exactly.
That's
And
wild.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, bro, like, like after these politicians get into power, their money needs to be scrutinized. They need to, there needs to be an oversight committee of some sort that's run by the people has nothing to do with the public, and looks at your money and said, "How the fuck did you get this money? You're only making
I
forty
think if we
thousand
have to
dollars
go
a
that
year before
far,
you became a politician. All of a
right?
sudden, you got $3 million. How the fuck did that happen?"
I think
You
if
know,
we
and
let it
and
get that far, we've already gone in the wrong direction, right? If it's already you have to go and scrutinize this guy's bank account, he's obviously not
yes,
fit for the job. Like
exactly.
this is the and this is wild because we're getting into these portions, right, where we want to do these things, but we can't alienate somebody by digging through their entire past and judging them upon it. So it's like this
Well, sure we
dichotomy, right?
can.
Well, I mean, we
Sure we
can.
can.
Yes, we can. But
If
at
they
the
become
same
a
point,
public politician, if they become a public servant,
well,
then we need to look at them really, really close and say, okay, bro, you made 40,000 last year, but now you got $1 million. How did that happen?
well,
Who did
of
you
course.
sell out?
Well,
Right? And then right then and there is when, we need to come down on these people, because that's exactly what's happening.
well,
The
anybody
elites
who
of
made
the
$1 million
world are political
wouldn't be in that
elites.
job. Anybody who made the million wouldn't be fit for that job. This is all about people who are like middle to lower status so that they can basically help the people in which are most hurting. Like this is the service
Middle
to other
class.
mentality, right?
The middle
And
class is the one that should become the politicians, because the middle class understands what it's like to be the low class. The middle class understands what it's like to make $20,000 a year, and the middle class knows how to make $80,000 a year. They know exactly what it's like. They've learned how to, they remember when they starved. They remembered when they couldn't pay their rent and they were getting evicted and they had to fight the government. They remember when they had to go to the food bank to get food, even though that they were working full time. 1.5 million people here in Canada just in 1 month had to go to the food bank, Rob, to
oh,
go
it's
and get
terrible.
food. And
It's
these
terrible up
people are
there.
full time workers. There's
It's
no reason
same
for
thing
full
here.
time workers to be going to a food bank to get food to feed their families. That is outrageous.
Yeah.
Extremely outrageous. If you're making like $12,000, $15,000 a year, due to whatever your circumstances, whatever to your choices were, then you're going to the food bank. Okay, that's
12 to
fine. The
15,000.
community
It's
will
either you're
provide
eating
for you.
or you have a roof over your head at that point.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
if you're
bottom
making
line.
$100,000 a year and still going to the food bank, there's something wrong there.
Well, there is something
And that
wrong.
is the critical mass, my brother. That is the
Absolutely.
critical mass. If you're making $100,000 a year and you still need to go to the food bank, there's a problem. It has nothing to do with your budgeting, nothing to do with that. That simply has to do with the federal government. And then again, I bring up the question, do we really need federal government? Can we go with just a state provincial government that represents us on the global stage so that we can get the benefits that come from that, through technology exchange, through food exchange, through medical exchange, through like whatever type of community cultural exchange that you get through diplomatic relations? you know can the state and the provincial government, can they not do that? Why do we need to pay billions of dollars to the federal government for doing absolutely nothing? Look at the guy in White House right now,
Oh my God!
right?
Don't get me started on that because
I know,
it's a lost cause.
$200 billion to Zelensky just this year, and
He's
it's only February.
Yeah. We
That
can't
means a
talk about
hundred.
that. We can't talk about that
Yeah,
on YouTube.
yeah, you're right, man.
But
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
so here's one. I kind of want to pivot for a moment too. Now, it's sort of wrapped into it, but we see all these people who are busting their ass to make that $100,000 of that living, right? And they're still
That's me.
having to go to those food banks. Now,
I thankfully I don't have to go just yet.
right, but my position here is that energetically, what is this doing to those people and how it's beating them down and keeping them into this lower vibratory state where they're now more capitulate to that reception of program that they're going to tell somebody because they're going to play savior. And playing that savior is going to give those people who are in power that upper hand to remain in power. This is
Mhm.
this sick, carousel that just keeps happening and happening and happening. And they do this systematically. every 30, 40, 50, 100 years on the nose. And we've seen this since the beginning or the Atlantean times when civilization was advanced and collapsed, right? I don't know why this person is spamming to go watch Cosmic Agency with Garcia. Please stop doing that. That is not something that
Yeah,
we,
one of the mods,
you know,
please remove this guy, Mazu Sabore, whatever
I'm
he
not
is.
even seeing it. I'm not even seeing it in my chat for some reason.
I'm seeing it. It's probably you put him on a block, but you didn't put him on a proper block, Rob.
Right.
Or one of the mods needs to go in and just block him from the channel, not put him in a timeout or anything like that. Just simply remove him. Just block all altogether. The what I'm afraid of, Rob, is that like I do really well. Like I make like 150, $160,000 a year. That's Canadian
I'm
money.
definitely not
You
there
know,
yet, but I'm
like I
trying.
do very
Trying.
well. Like I do very well, and I'm in a good position, to take care of my family. But even then, I'm still struggling, still fighting, especially when you go to the grocery store and you look at buns and they want like, $7 for like fucking four buns. Think about that. $7 for four buns. When they
I,
want $7 for four buns, it doesn't matter if you're making $1 million a fucking year. At the end of the day, $7 for four buns is gonna kill you.
oh, I know.
And that's
We
gonna
went to go
drain
get
you
toilet
and
paper, and it was like $1.25 per toilet paper roll. Like, you
per
kidding me?
ticket,
Yeah, like
per shit ticket, Rob.
pretty much. It
Dollar
was like,
twenty
dude, come
five.
on, man. Like, that's crazy. Like, you really mean
That
that?
is the
Just
critical mass, my man. That is the
yeah.
critical mass that you're talking about. Not only that, but the government hiding the fact that they can, kill, like literally kill millions of animals. I'm working on a presentation right now that's going to talk about the 140 or so, food plants that have been burnt down in America, and they think that, you know, this is going to just slide by. People aren't going to just notice. Like just now, just like last week, we had 100,000 hens that were killed. That's
Oh yeah.
those are egg laying chickens. And now all of a sudden the price of eggs go up. It almost seems like there's some sort of a conspiracy. And then when you look at like other goods that are supposed to be there, like Advils and Motrins and things like that, right? Like Citrons and
Insane.
Neocitrins, and they're so expensive. You'd be lucky to get them. And pay that $20 for a pack of Neocitrins that were like $5 2-3 years ago. They're not even on the shelf right now. Things like that is the critical mass, because it's obviously an attack against humanity. It's a very very obvious. I was looking at the maps, Rob. Check this out. I do deep research, and I just don't want to just put anything out. I want to make sure
Right.
that all my corners are covered, so that in case someone says something, I can say, hey, well, I talked about this and blah blah blah. You can go there and check this out. But when you look at all of these food plants that are being destroyed and being burnt down, 99% of them are in the United States and Canada. You're
It's
not seeing
crazy.
food plants burning down in Europe. You don't see them burning down in Russia. You don't see them burning down in Asia or in Australia or in Africa or in South America. 99% of them, literally all of them, are in the North American continent, in North America, in Canada, and the US. That is a critical mass, my friend. That clearly tells you that we have a problem. My battery's gonna die, homie, so I gotta call it quits here. But
Yeah, we're about to shut it down anyway. So I just want to go into the ending of the show. So we can redefine critical mass now from what we discussed today. And redefining critical mass is where your program, or this program essentially that they are trying to make us all capitulate to, becomes an inversion of reality. That is a critical mass where they tell you that this power structure is here to help you, but therefore it's harming you. And that program is no longer a necessity. And that this is what we're seeing with, all the days that from this day forth where we see a critical mass, we need to start calling them out, to showing others how we interject divine light and love into these critical masses, because those critical masses bring credence to the awakening ones, or the awakening of those who are still yet aslumber. So, with all that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and for joining us. It was sort of an impromptu, a little bit of a political talk, a little bit of energetics talk. But my brother Omar, thank you for joining us this evening. It was always a great time whenever we go back and forth. And please like, subscribe, leave a comment when the stream is finished. Also, again, I'm going to say I just put the link for the energetics workshop. The spots are filling up fast. Get your tickets as soon as you can. So if you something you want to do, you have a chance to get in there. It's also in the description of this video. If you use the promo code Forever Student, one word, you will get 10% off the ticket prices. All of this money goes back into the program or into this broadcast, so we can enhance this quality of programming, but also give us more assets abroad to bring more information to people here. So, with all that being said, again, leave the comment underneath. Let's beat the algorithm. I love you all. Thank you, Omar. I love you, brother. And I hope we all have a great evening. And I'll see you all in the next few days. Have a great night.